problems associated with hydroelectric power is possible dam failure or the dam breaking. Floods in general are a big problem. And fish migration. I wish I had the video, I'll look it up before you guys leave today, of the new technology that they've created for the hydroelectric power plants where the fish are actually transported on, like, you know, in Universal that you, or the airport that you go on a moving walkway. Well, the fish are transported so that they don't get caught in the turbines.
Are these like the salmon steps?
Yes. So that way it doesn't affect migratory patterns of fish or cause fish to die, which there's a picture of dead fish. And I'm not even sure what that is, so we'll just ignore that. Now, I've got this from your book, and I encourage you to always look at these charts when you're reading through the summary of the chapter of advantages and disadvantages. I told you this in the beginning of the year. If you familiarize yourself with the charts, but you analyze 3 points, comprehend them and understand them, this is the way you're successful on essays, okay? So if we're gonna ask about energy yield for hydroelectric power, it's moderate to high, so it's relatively good. High efficiency, 80% effective. Who could tell me why? So you always have to look at throughput. How much energy goes in and how much energy goes out. It goes from mechanical to electrical. So there's one energy, really it's two energy transformations. You have movement of water, movement of the turbine to electrical power, okay? Long lifespan. Almost all our alternative sources of energy have long lifespans in the plants. So the initial cost is always going to be a disadvantage. If you look at all of them, that's a disadvantage. Advantage is going to be long lifespan. I think solar is the only one. Plants have a long lifespan, but solar uses more directly in the home, and their lifespan is not necessarily that high. And you see, disadvantage is high construction costs. So its initial cost is always a problem. Danger of collapse, uproots people, and obviously they're going to build this plant, so any surrounding areas or diversity is going to be lost of species. So that's about it. Any questions on that?
All right, that was loud. Wind.
So, second fastest growing energy. I'll tell you, there was, excuse me, there was a lot of debate between solar and wind, and I'm curious if you look it up, which is in the running, because I'll go from year to year and change these notes. So wind, second fastest growing energy, solar first. You have to know that it's an indirect form of solar energy, and I think the group that presented did a good job of explaining that. I think I remember it was Sam, right?
Cool.
All right. Countries with the highest total installed wind capacity are Germany, United States, and I love that approach. I mentioned it. I might adopt it. And there's just a map. Remember, you have to know at least 2 major areas of usage of wind power, and if you notice, the first 2, who's second? Us, okay? So as bad as we are with our energy consumption in non-renewable, we are trying to find alternative ways. So try to keep that in mind. We're getting towards the good parts of all the topics in some way. So how does wind power produce electricity? Well, there are 3 ways. You can have pretty much a windmill directly installed in your home, or for power, like small power. You can have wind farms offshore and on land. And there's a lot of advantages to wind power and very few disadvantages, but I'm going to cover all of them. Here's how it works. The wind spins the turbine, which is attached to a generator, and sends electric current. So same process over and over. When I told you about coal, I said if you learn this, that's the most complex of all, and nuclear. Everything else follows the same pattern. How do we get that electric current to your home, and how do we spin the turbine? Or some kind of motion in place. Here's a closer picture. You never have to learn about the generators or the rotors or the types of blades, although there's a lot of technology with windmills in terms of I think I have pictures of the types of blades, maybe? Okay, maybe not. But in your book, they show the different ways of scooping wind, okay? It's like turning the blades in a specific direction, 3 blades versus 4 blades or 2 blades based on where the windmills are located. and how they can capture the wind. Because one of the disadvantages is it's very unstable and it goes in a specific direction in specific parts of the world. So it's very clean. These are advantages. Clean source of energy. What pollution can come from a wind power? Noise pollution only. What else? Initial construction is always going to be the downfall. The building of is going to cause some kind of damage, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But overall, once it's done, there's no pollution.
I don't really understand what.
Clean. Inexhaustible. What does that mean? Doesn't run out. Fastest growing. See, I used to have that. We know it's the second fastest growing. Yes. Cheap per kilowatt hour. So far we've got, what's cheap per kilowatt hour? No. Natural gas. No. Coal and nuclear are your FPL bill. In the end, all energy is relatively cheap in the US, okay? But per kilowatt hour, we got wind is going to be cheaper, hydroelectric is going to be cheaper, natural gas is going to be cheaper. Disadvantages, wind patterns, they're not available everywhere and they're not consistent. So there's a map of geography and I probably reference it, okay. It's not strong enough everywhere. So you have to only use this source of energy in specific areas. And you have to have a backup at some times. Takes up a lot of land. The good news is, and I should reference this as an advantage, and you guys said this beautifully, the land underneath can be used for grazing cattle or farming. So they are what would I say? They're using the land for multiple purposes, multifunctional.
But doesn't the noise
Noise is next. Oh, it's expensive, initial cost always. Remember we said initial problems. And then noise pollution is another one. And the last one, anybody know the last one? Because you guys didn't mention this one. Yes.
Really?
And I think I have a video.
Can you watch it?
I'm pretty sure I have a video.